I'm not in love with DeAndre Jordan, especially for the Cavs. It's not as far as his individual skill, but what would he provide to the Cavs from a fit for them to be able to beat Golden State? Because really it's about Golden State. People say, well, getting out of the East. No, that's not really the equation for LeBron. LeBron's there to try to win championships. I don't believe it makes him a champion this year, and I don't believe it helps keep him in Cleveland long term. So sometimes general managers talk about the best deals are the ones that you don't make, and I believe that Cleveland on this end benefited from whatever, if it was the first deal, second deal, whatever order they came in. I like how they are now, so I don't like to do the revisionist history part of it.
I like doing the revisionist history. You're right. General managers do say it's the ones that you don't make. Oftentimes, shape your future. But look, I think for the now, Cleveland is better off with what they have. I think for the playoffs, DeAndre Jordan would have been better.
Really?
Yeah, like newsflash, DeAndre Jordan's actually making his free throws this year. He was 8 of 9 last night. I think he's making 60% on the year. And DeAndre Jordan is the best rim-protecting star.
And for a lot of people that don't watch a lot of basketball, because they went to hack DeAndre at the end of a lot of games, especially in the playoffs. So him making those free throws is a great point that you're bringing, because that was one of the huge negatives in having him to be on the court, especially late in games.
And like, look, I understand that we all believe that somehow the Clippers were these massive failures, that group, with Blake and Chris Paul and DeAndre Jordan, but they weren't healthy, and there was something to their makeup which I think could have provided a very difficult run for the Warriors to go through in the playoffs. We never saw it. Remember, the Clippers never faced off with the Warriors in their title playoff runs. The Clippers one year beat the Spurs, and they lost because of injury, and they would never collide. Right. So I actually think the Cavs would be better in the playoffs, because in the regular season, and maybe even maybe not the playoffs, not the right word, the finals, because the depth that they have now allows, you mentioned it yesterday, LeBron James to come off the court and feel pretty good about the youth, the athleticism, the defense.
Yeah, look at the game on Monday when LeBron sat, I think, 8 minutes or so, and they were able to be consistent, only a couple points behind.
But championships are won by your best 5 on the court.
Sure.
And if the Cavs' best 5 would have been better if you had DeAndre Jordan at center, in my opinion. The problem was you couldn't jettison Tristan Thompson. You'd still have Kevin Love. But you put him protecting that rim, rolling to that rim, guarding off the paint. We all talk about the Warriors' three-point shooting, which is great, but the Warriors lead the league in layups. They get dead layups.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. When you start looking at a series and how you're going to win 4 games, yes, you could, if you add DeAndre, because Tristan is not the defender that he was a couple years ago. You make a great point, because they do. And we don't look at it that way. Man, they shoot threes, they're up and down, but they also, they lead the league in layups and easy buckets. So having that massive defender there, that could be a difference changer. That could be a game changer for them.
Absolutely. So we're now going to move on to a big battle between 2 small little point guards. 2 former Celtics, Isaiah Thomas and Rajon Rondo. Well, they were tossed, ejected in the first quarter of last night's game. The 2 exchanged words. They were quite snippy with each other multiple times before both being thrown out. Here's IT explaining what happened.
For whatever reason, he's an upset guy about me. I don't know what it is, but it's fine. Like, I can't control that. He kept bringing the tribute up when I was the one that shut the tribute down. So, I mean, I'm far past that. I'm on the Lakers trying to figure out how to help this team win. And for the things that happened today and me to get ejected is uncalled for. Nothing should have made that escalate like it did. But he already had his agenda written down right when I checked in the game. It was obvious.
Doug, I mean, is this just child's play? Because that's what it looks like to me. Or do you think this is a legitimate beef between these 2?
This is Rajon Rondo 101, isn't it? Yes. Rajon Rondo is a bitter dude. Rajon Rondo is a guy.
This is like fill in the blank. Rondo is instigating something with Isaiah.
Yeah, the embarrassing part is the fact that Isaiah Thomas got thrown out of the game. Like, what game are you watching? And I understand if you're an official, you're just like, hey, these 2 have beef, but we have no time for it. But if you go back and you watch, it was all instigated by Rajon Rondo. Like, he was trying to get under Isaiah Thomas's skin. And to Isaiah Thomas's credit, he didn't take the bait. He wasn't throwing bows, right? All he was simply trying to do was run a play, and Rondo kept instigating, and he gets them both ejected. Now, look, it should be pointed out that Rondo played spectacular basketball for the Bulls in the playoffs when they're up 2-0. And had he not gotten hurt, the Celtics might not have made a run to the Eastern Conference Finals. Okay, these are all facts. And Rondo was great when he was with the Celtics, and they won a title. Yes. But this is also the problem with Rondo. This is why he's the Chucky Brown of the NBA. Chucky Brown's a great dude, but Chucky Brown played for like 13 teams. That's what Rondo's working on because he wears out his welcome. He thinks he's a tough guy. He's like Kevin Garnett without Kevin Garnett's game, right? He just constantly wants to try and rattle the cage of the opponent, and in this particular case, he ruined the game. And I know the Pelicans won because it doesn't matter, but that's a bad look for the NBA and NBA officiating to eject the wrong guy.
It definitely was, but Rondo, you bring up good points. This is who Rondo is. But this is a big game for the Pelicans. Yeah. I mean, they're one game ahead of the Clippers, one game ahead of Utah as far as that last spot. So you don't want to get thrown out of a game. Now, I can understand.
Risky, yeah.
And stop being petty. Now, he was at the tribute with his boy Paul Pierce. I can understand all that. I can understand he played with the Celtics. Yeah. But now you're with the Pelicans. What's going to help the Pelicans? Now, if you instigate, and Doug, I could see you doing something like this in a game, because this is one of the old basketball tricks where you throw up your hands, so the ref's like, oh, what did I do? But when you're a taller guy going against a smaller guy, your hands are up, but you catch them elbows.
Right.
And that's what Rondo did to him a couple times. So Isaiah, the referee, catches the second guy in retaliation, but this is just one of them old gaming tricks. Yeah. You know, Isaiah didn't do anything that deserved being thrown out, and I'm just want to make sure that at this point in Isaiah's career, that I'm not one of the broadcasters just decides to continue to let the narrative just go, like it's all Isaiah's fault. Like, this guy has been through a lot. He tried to play with an injured hip. Yep. His sister passed away.
Absolutely.
Playing with that injured hip ended up getting him traded away. He's in the last year of his deal. He's never made big money, NBA money. So all that pressure, and now being on his fourth team after he thought he had a home in Cleveland. So there's a lot of other things. I thought Isaiah did only thing that he could do in this instance, and he shouldn't have been thrown out of the game.
Okay, let me make this point, because I hear both of y'all, and technically, let me say I think you're both correct. IT was not in the wrong in this particular instance. He should not have been ejected along with Rondo. But let's go back to the conversation earlier in the week about narratives, okay? You say the point, Chris Carter, I agree. You don't want to be a broadcaster continuing a particular narrative that's problematic around Isaiah Thomas. Mm-hmm. But I see it a little different. I think that he has done something to warrant some of this narrative that is continuing about him. You know what it is? He talks too much. He simply talks too much. I think when you go on Instagram and you like, you know, the shade thrown at your former teammates, you're making comments after the game, you're opening yourself up to be a target for some of this taunting and instigating that's happening to him.
First of all, I agree with you. It's a good point. And I also think that trash talk is as much part of basketball as the actual basketball itself. It is.
Sure.
Okay? It's a city game. It's a street game. It's a, I'm better than you, and I'm going to talk to you after I hit every shot. Or even if I miss every shot, I'm still going to talk.
Right.
But to Chris's point, dude's lost $100 million in the last 8 months.
So it's been tough.
$100 million.
Yeah, you better get off
You would
my
be
face.
hurt too.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, it's one thing, like, we've all had bad business deals in our lifetime to which, like, man, I should have made money and I lost money.
Yeah.
Right? But $100 million is big boy, life-changing, generational wealth.
Absolutely.
So he has that, and he did play through a bad hip. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next year or at the end of his career, he sues the Boston Celtics doctors for allowing him to play through that hip injury, play through that pain, which has decreased his value on the open market. But in this, we can only judge in this particular instance. You're right. There are some things to which he should not have done in Cleveland. He should have kept his mouth shut. He should not have attacked Kevin Love in their players-only meeting. And, oh, yeah, by the way, if the players-only meeting, that information also shouldn't have leaked to the media.
Sure.
You really want to get down to it. You're right. But in this particular instance, Rondo was trying to get under his skin, and I was actually impressed by the fact that Isaiah Thomas didn't take the bait.
He restrained for a long time. But you know what? I hear you, and I have complete empathy for IT. He's, I'm sure, still grieving the loss of his sister and all the things you say. But at what point, gentlemen, do we have to stop the bleeding around the problematic narrative so we don't lose more money?
Listen, let me tell you something. Ain't nobody going to hit me to my throat. All right? Okay. Much respect to your opinion. But ain't no one... We believe in this in sports. You can hit me to my shoulders, down to my toes, but you got to stay away from the neck and stay away from the head. So Rondo hits him with a straight arm to the throat. That's what started this whole thing.
It's too much.
Then they get double technicals. And we know how to rough players up. We know how to do things, how to say things. And we can't restrict IT at 5'8". What else do you have in the NBA? If you can't talk trash in the NBA at 5'8", what the heck? How are you going to make a living?
So here's what should have happened. Okay, here's how it really works in basketball. Is somebody comes at IT. Whoever the biggest dude is on the floor,
thank you,
comes and cleans up Rajon Rondo.
Yes,
and he sets the screen, and the same thing Rondo does.
Charles Oakley.
Yes,
let's go.
And one of the problems with the Lakers is they got too many young dudes who don't know that that's what you're supposed to do, and too many nice dudes. Brook Lopez is the nicest dude in America, but he's also 7 feet tall, 260 pounds. He needs to come and screen and clamp, and that's how you take it. Just like the brushback pitch in baseball, this is how we take care of things in basketball. The official did not let it get to that point because he didn't want it to escalate, but I think that's what is missing from the Lakers. It shouldn't be Isaiah Thomas can protect himself's mouth, but the biggest dude on the floor has to clean that action up, and the only way to shut Rajon Rondo up is with a slightly illegal screen where you try and detach his lung. That's how you do it.
Now, he does have to change the narrative. So at that point, I do agree with you. But last night, we have to look at what actually happened. Like going into the game, we'd be like, well, what do we need IT to do? We need him to just play well, be a sixth man, blend in with the team, help out these young guys. Man, somebody hit you to the throat. Man, throw that out the window.
Right.
Okay, we got to play ball. I'm a grown man. He's a grown man. I'm out here getting paid. He's out here getting paid. He's trying to hurt me. I'm getting ready to defend myself.
Yeah, we're all human.
And that's how it's getting ready to go down.
You feeling that from your soul. I can tell. So, coming up next.